So if we look at the more sort of regenerative side of the treatments that are available, these ones are generally not great at controlling inflammation, but they're really, really good at regeneration.
Okay.
So the big ones are PRP, which essentially works through making sure you've got a threshold number of platelets that you hope will eventually release enough cytokines and growth factors to have a clinical effect. And those cytokines and growth factors are instrumental in different things. So they drive different biological processes, which drive...
Such as?
So tissue regeneration, a process which I'll talk just now with Regenesis, a big one is angiogenesis, and a number of different other things.
PRP is, of course, famous with women for the vampire facial now.
Good old Kim Kardashian.
So hasn't she? She's done her bit for PRP. So okay, that's interesting. So
PRP is actually quite a controversial one. I think part of I don't want to say the problem with PRP, because in the right setting it has a very, very good place and use. I think the big problem with PRP is you've got not a million, but realistically there's about 200 different commercial kits you can use to prepare it.
Wow.
And there's no standardization whatsoever. So one kit you'll get a factor of 2, like a 2-fold increase in your baseline platelets. Another will have a 50-fold increase.
So it really depends.
And depending on what you're doing, is it leukocyte rich? Is it leukocyte poor? Which essentially there's a whole debate which is better. There's a whole lot of different considerations. So if you look at a published paper of PRP, you can have 3 different published papers and you get 3 different.
Depends,
depending on what kit they've used and how they've used it, and there's a lot of considerations. Other regenerative ones is stem cell therapy, which I'm sure many people know. Bone marrow aspirate concentrate, not very many people speak about that. No. It's much more so used in Europe and America than here. I haven't heard of many people using it here. And then, of course, Regenesis.
So tell us about Regenesis Vet Riyadh.
So Regenesis Vet Riyadh is the only regenerative medicine product that currently exists in the world that is given systemically. There are some stem cell therapies that are given systemically, but the way they're regulated and the way they sort of work are a little bit different. So Regenesis is similar to PRP in the sense that the active ingredients that are sort of being derived from the blood are from the platelets, but rather than trying to concentrate as many platelets as possible, you're trying to access a lot of the growth factors and cytokines that are present in a place within the platelets called your alpha granules. So you actually want those platelets to degranulate to the point where you can access enough of those really good growth factors and cytokines, and then in very, very high volumes reintroduce those to the horses systemically.
That's amazing.
And interestingly, with Regenesis, the best place to use it is with a horse that's got an active injury, because when you've given all these growth factors back to the horse, the whole idea is it's less so to do most likely actually with that injection and more so to do with the cascade effect that injection triggers. So if you now flood the horse's body with growth factors that are only naturally present in very high concentrations after injury, you sort of trigger a whole lot of other biological processes that you would naturally have after injury.
That's incredible.
So that's the whole way from like a preventative point of view. If you can trigger a healing cascade before a horse is clinically lame, you potentially can actually have an intervention whilst you're in that potentially preclinical stage where the horse is susceptible to injury. So if the horse overjumps and hurts it, or not hurts, but overdoes it with its glute a bit, instead of that turning into a chronic glute injury, it's not always the case, but you potentially can give that horse's body the resources to come out of that before it comes chronic.
Healing.
But what you would need is increased blood flow to an area of injury in order for these growth factors to be directed there. So we leverage off known documented biological processes. You can't, have a horse that's standing in a paddock, doesn't have an injury, and expect it to go to the left hind fetlock. There's got to be some underlying biological process that's directing increased blood flow and resources to that area.
And then with a horse that's undergoing Regenesis vet treatment, what is the management protocol? Like, would you have to keep moving them to kind of keep redirecting everything to that?
So what we generally see, horses that are not in work, unless there's like quite a big injury that is fresh that we can intervene early, don't really benefit.
That's
I think for a number of reasons. So based off some of those physiological processes we described earlier, those are mostly in play when you've got a horse that's in work and is sort of in a more anabolic state in terms of what you're asking its body to do.
Yeah.
You know, the sort of balance between breaking down muscle and building up. That's really where Regenesis, I think, is